We're in for an epic last 2 weeks of the Conference USA regular season. The Sam Houston Bearcats sit at 8-2. They control their own destiny about whether or not they go to the Conference USA championship game. But you know what they say, or at least that's what I like to say. It's not about if you control your own destiny or not. It's about what you do when game time comes, because it's all about what happens on the field in order to help yourself in the future. The Bearcats go to Jacksonville, Alabama to take on the Gamecocks, who sit at a lone first place in Conference USA for a high caliber matchup, a high power potent offense versus a stalwart defense. It's going to be epic. It's going to be fun. And if the Bearcats can win, they put themselves in a hell of a great position to get into the Conference USA Championship. Hello, everyone. This is Sam Houston Sports Talk. Colin Neal, Luke Scott joining you as always. Luke, is my monologue a little bit too epic? I mean, this feels like a very epic matchup that we're in store for at 11 a.m. on Saturday.
It's a very intriguing matchup. In fact, I've seen on multiple outlets on Twitter and all sorts of social media saying that this is a top 10 matchup in the country, top 10 in engaging, and it's very interesting to see all the outcomes of what can happen here. And you look at these two teams, we know the issues that Sam Houston's had in the past, um, few weeks or so, like a month basically. But Jacksonville State, they started off really slow. They lost against Eastern Michigan. They lost against Coastal Carolina. Just didn't look great. And they have really picked it up. And the past two times they've played out, Colin, an overtime victory against Louisiana Tech, who they probably should have beat uh, by a lot more, and then also FIU barely escaped FIU. So it's interesting to see where both of these teams are coming into this one.
We'll learn more about the Gamecocks when we hear from the voice of Jax State, Mike Parris. He's done it for a long time, so he's if you want to learn more about the athletics that go on in Jacksonville, Alabama, he's the guy to talk to. But before we get to that interview that will happen in just a few moments for us, let's kind of look back once again back on Kennesaw State. Casey Keeler had his press conference. You know, I had we both had very starch opinions about that. I don't know if it was pretty well received among a lot of people. I mean, again, Luke, the Bearcats are 8-2. Removed from a year that was very, very. I don't know a good word to say it, but very bad. 3-9, especially that 0-8. Very. It just felt, you know, it felt like in all those games, of course, that the Bearcats lost by one possession. They were right there, but at the end of the day, you still lost, and it seems like, dang, it's just gonna be like. Hopefully, we just have to hope that this isn't a consistent thing for the program as an FBS school. Well, now Luke, look at where they're at now. They're 8-2, overtime win against Kennesaw State, controlling their own destiny. I mean, I don't think a lot of people. Well, we surely didn't, see this coming, but I'm sure a lot of people besides the Bearcats saw this coming.
Well, Colin, I think I said at the very beginning of the year, in the first few podcasts, I said, you got to look at some of these one-score games that we had last year. Some of those are going to flip. Some of those will turn out well for us, and it turns out just about all of them have. Um, outside of really that Western Kentucky game, it's hard to really complain about any of the results, the outcomes of the season, and that's what Keeler was talking about. He said if you would have said we were 8-2 at this point, you would have told us we were dreaming. Well, here we are, right? So don't pretty much gave the bird pretty much to everyone, saying even though that it might not be the most stylistically pleasing football that to watch or to play or winning games, and I do get that. I get that sentiment, and I understand what he's saying, because at the beginning of the year, if you told us we were going to win 8 games, we would have signed up for it right there and no questions asked. And here we are, and now we're asking for more, which, not to be greedy or anything, but we think we can with this defense. But um, I'm very pleased with the outcome so far, but this will be a big test, Colin. This one, um, kind of bouncing back off Kennesaw in a game that we should have won by a whole lot more. You can't give a lot of free possessions to Jax State. You can't turn the ball over. You can't throw picks because this offense of Jax State, these Gamecocks can run up a score quickly.
Yeah, I think the thing is don't have a lot of empty possessions. I mean, empty possessions are going to happen, but if you're just going to constantly go three and out or almost a lot and not get past midfield quite a lot, against Jack State, Jack State's going to eat you alive, especially when they're led by a one of the more underrated head coaches of our time in Rich Rod, and it's like it's like the offense has definitely, if there's a game for the offense to like show that they can get back to their ways that they were at the earlier in the season, this is a game. Now, one thing that it is very important to note, and I do kind of hate that I did not think about this too much. Hunter Watson may still not be 100% healthy, and it sounded like Watson didn't get a lot of practice in those 16 days. And he may have gotten hurt. He may have gotten hurt again at the end of the game. We took that shot. He seemed to be fine. As Keeler said, we go as Hunter goes. Um, it's it's just like gotta uh, at the at this point, if you ran the same type of game plan against Kennesaw State's defense that you do against Jack State as a whole, you're probably not gonna. It's gonna be a harder task because this offense of Jack State averages over 450 yards per game. They have one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the group of five. They have a running back who's seventh nationally in total rush yards per game in Trey Stewart. This is a team that you're going to have to get into a shootout with. It can. I think that's going to be one of those keys that we always post. That's one of the things I'm going to post. Limit empty possessions.
If you go three and out, a few times and you punt the ball away and Jack State gets the ball at the 35, 40, they're going to score points. They just will. They're that good offensively, and I'm not saying that our defense will compete with them. Our defense is, I think we have the best defense in the conference. And this is good on good. This is the best offense probably versus the best defense. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. And it's kind of bad on bad. Offense for Sam and defense for Jacksonville State. Hasn't been too kind for either really in recent weeks. It's very intriguing, but this is a team that can really stretch you out and throw the ball sideways, vertical. They can run the ball. Um, it's I wouldn't say it's a tricky offense, but it is a quick offense, and you have to be ready for the quarterback to run. You have to be ready for the running backs to catch passes. The wide receivers are going to be used in the running game. I mean, they throw everything at you, Colin.
Yeah, this is going to be the toughest test for defensive coordinator Skylar Cassidy since Western Kentucky. Um, it's
Oh, this is going to be the toughest test since Texas State.
Yeah, and I think that I think he's done a terrific job in those games. Just Texas State, that just I mean, the that deficit earlier in the game, it just happened, but they still held them pretty well for the rest of the way. Western Kentucky, they still held them to 17 first half points. It's just Watson went down, and it's just the offense couldn't get anything going. That's not their fault. That's just really unfortunate. You don't ever, no matter how many times you prepare for that sort of situation, you're never really ever prepared for it because it's real game action. You can't replicate that in practice, no matter how hard you try. Um, ja, but going back to Jack State's gonna be. You say tricky, but I think it's gonna be kind of tricky because I posed the question on Sam Houston Sports Talk on X / Twitter. Follow us over there if you haven't already. I basically asked, who do you have to stop to limit this offense? You're not going to completely stop them. You're going to just have to be able to limit them. I asked, is it quarterback Tyler Huff or running back Trey Stewart who you're going to have to stop? And it just matters, really, what's your perspective on it? Is it Trey Stewart's dominance in the run game that really opens up the passing and running game for Tyler Huff? Or is it Tyler Huff's dual threat ability that opens it up for Trey Stewart? And Sam Houston is one of the best run defenses in the country. So I think if they stop Trey Stewart, they really can limit the options for Huff. I mean, he doesn't really have a favorite target. He has 4 guys that have 2 touchdown catches or more. This Cam Vaughn kid seems really good. I've seen some film on him. He looks really good. I don't know, Luke. It's just a tricky question, but I feel like if you stop Trey Stewart, you stop the offense. But it just again depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, I mean you're right to an extent, but I'm on the Tyler Huff train. I'm on you have to stop the quarterback because he's the guy that you have to worry about throwing the ball in addition to running the ball. You know, if you make him one dimensional, if you take away his run ability, his scramble out of the pocket, the design, you close on, um, the ends stay on, or they stick to their assignments. If you close in on Huff, that's the guy that I would rather completely shut down. If Trey Stewart's going to run the ball on you, fine, but don't let Tyler Huff run the ball on you. And it's for the same reason. It's kind of the same approach to as other teams have with Sam. You know, if Jay Ducker is going to run 120 yards on you, so be it. But you cannot let Hunter Watson have 90 yards on you, 100 yards on you, because that is where you will just get killed. And over and over again, those are the ones that add up to you. And um, I look back at our losses. West Kentucky did a great job of keeping Hunter Watson really off the field, but you know, unable to run the ball. We were able to throw the ball a little bit in that first half, but he didn't do anything running the ball for us, and our offense went stagnant in the second half. It's a very similar approach, these two offenses. One has been able to really um, go full fledged and really operate throughout the entire season, or really the last month or so, 2 months, and one has kind of failed the past month.
Well, it's a different kind of situation now, especially with Western Kentucky losing last week to La Tech. It seems like there's a lot more to play for. Now, before we head on over to talk to Mike, Luke, you just got any final thoughts before we head on over there?
No, I'm just interested to see what he thinks about kind of where the team has progressed throughout the year. This is a team that's gotten better and better each week. In the past 2 weeks, it's just been a little different. They've won their games, but they haven't won it as convincingly as they have been, and it's for similar reasons. It's just like us. So just to kind of see of where his head's at and the confidence, with these Gamecocks.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump towards that interview right now. We sat down with Mike Parris, the voice of the Gamecocks. All right, now joining us, he's been the voice of Jax State Gamecock athletics for 42 years. 42 years. An amazing accomplishment. It is the legend himself, Mike Parris. Mike, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time because I know y'all are gonna head on over here to Huntsville in about I say about 24 hours.
Well, they come to us this year,
Oh yeah, that's right. They do come. We do go to y'all. Well,
so we're good.
hey,
Come on, Colin. Come on,
hey,
dude.
hey, I'm trying to get going, man. I got a little bit of a busy day today, but yeah, Sam Houston taking on
I
Jack
understand.
State, Jack State, 11 a.m. It's gonna be. Mike, I don't know if you are really familiar about what's going on social media, but there's been a lot of talk about this matchup. The intriguing top 10 matchup. In some cases that some outlets are saying between Sam Houston and Jack State. Just kind of what has been your mindset going into this matchup? Because it really does seem like it's going to be a really good matchup. You have a really high potent offense going up against a stalwart brick wall defense.
Well, I think that's what I think when I think about it. That's what I think about offense versus defense there. And there's another big game. The Western Kentucky Liberty is a big game also, along with this one, because you have 4 teams still trying to win the conference championship and host the conference championship game. Jacksonville State started 0-3, but I think the second half of the Eastern Michigan was when something clicked. Ended up losing the game in overtime, a game they should have won, in my opinion, and could be 8-2, like Sam Houston going in. But offensively, since then, really have been on a roll. Have posted impressive numbers, rushing attack as well as scoring offense. But then I've seen some games with Sam Houston, obviously very talented on defense up front. Play a lot of guys, rotate those guys in and out, keep them fresh. And And there's some familiarity between the two going back to their FCS days, playoff action in postseason play in FCS football, I think it'll be an outstanding game. Hopefully, the Gamecocks find a way to win it on Saturday between the two.
It's interesting because these two teams will always be linked together because of the history in the FCS, but also moving together
Right.
up to the FBS. I want to get your take on the last couple games. FIU and Louisiana Tech have both been much closer in same ways with Sam Houston and our past two opponents. It's just been the better team not looking as good as they probably should have. What have you kind of seen these past two weeks?
Well, the third quarter at Louisiana Tech and to some degree last week versus FIU for Jacksonville State was really um, not their best. I'll put it that way. And their numbers, actually, they outscore opponents. The third quarter has been the best of the season, but just came out, I think, lethargic in the second half or the third quarter of the game at Louisiana Tech and gave up 21 points, didn't do anything on offense. And the third quarter to some degree last week as well with FIU. So I think that's one thing they have probably discussed and talked about, getting quicker start in that second half of play. Now, Louisiana Tech defensively, very good and had a pretty good offensive game. And then last week, Keon Jenkins was terrific. FIU, maybe his best game of the season, threw it well, and it seemed like that every time Jacksonville State defense was getting on him or getting to him, and it looked like it was about to be a sack, he was able to get rid of it. And I think about 90 to 95% of those he completed the passes when he was getting away as well. So, and you had opponents there. FIU was still trying to get to where they could be bowl eligible, they needed wins, and that was their biggest game, I think, at that point in time. And going back 2 weeks ago to La Tech. So, and I know Kennesaw gave Sam Houston fits last week in that game. So, look, everybody has got players. It doesn't matter what the record is. Everybody's got some players in this day and age in college football in which we're in now. And you've got, even when you're playing your best, a lot of times, it's still going to be difficult to get wins. And that's why you hear coaches say each one, they're precious, as a lot of coaches will say, to get a win is just a big thing every week.
This team is, very different than what they were from the first three games of the season. I watched that Coastal Carolina game. It was just, I mean, to put it lightly, it was pretty ugly on the side for Jax State.
You should have been calling it.
And that Eastern Michigan game, you said y'all probably should have won that game. The Louisville game, Louisville was number 22 in the country at the
Right.
time. So, but they've kind of really been inconsistent lately. Louisville's weird in that sort of way. But what has changed really, like from the
Well,
first three games?
I think, first of all, we were playing two quarterbacks the opener against Coastal Carolina. Logan Smothers was a guy that had the experience coming back, but he was hurt part of last season, and I'm still, I think, was going into the season maybe still favoring that injury from a year ago a little bit. Tyler Huff didn't get in until the summertime. He had committed and signed and everything, but he is a military guy in the reserves, and so he had to do his summer camp. So he didn't get in until late as well for Jacksonville State. Um, and I look back now, I thought Coastal Carolina, that first game, my goodness, they're going to make a run for the Sun Belt title the way they played, dominated both sides of the football lines of scrimmage, and they've struggled some after, I guess, since about week 3 of the season. I think they're 5-5, still fighting to get 6 wins to become bowl eligible. But I think the key for Jacksonville State, Tyler Huff, the second half of the Louisville game, and then into Eastern Michigan. Smothers was a little banged up again after the Coastal Carolina game, and Huff got the majority of the snaps against Louisville, and then I think all of them against Eastern Michigan. And he is, since the second half of the Louisville game, I think he has learned the offense to some degree. It clicked with him, I'll put it that way, and he's been lights out. I think that's been the biggest thing, the fact of him understanding the offense and knowing what Rich Rodriguez wants from his quarterback. If you don't run the ball as a quarterback for Rich Rodriguez, you're not going to play quarterback in his offense because it's predicated on the quarterback being able to run and running the football. And look, he's a guy. He will not slide. He won't go down feet first. He's always got the head lowered. He's getting that extra yard or two every time. And so far, he survived the season doing that. But him taking control of the offense, I think leadership also from him has played a part. We played some young guys in some spots. Trey Stewart, he comes in. This is his final year. He's a D2 guy, transfers in, and the last 6 weeks has been just unbelievable. And then on the other side of the football, our numbers are not great on defense compared to last year, going back several years. But we did get better, I think, during the course of the season defensively, and that's played a key role and a big part in winning 7 straight and getting to where they are now.
You talk about the quarterback running the football. We have the same exact issue at times where our guy doesn't want to go down and just tries to run people over. The only difference is our guy's actually gotten banged up quite a bit. But
Right.
when you look at the offense, what is more valuable, the quarterback running or passing? Like, what's more valuable to the actual Gamecock offense?
I think Huff's ability to run has been the difference, quite honestly. It opens up the other avenues. I go back to the Liberty game. They were really keying on him. I think they had a spy on him, and then Trey Stewart just, 190 yards in the first half of that game. He was like a stallion running free all night there, or at least the first 30 minutes of the contest. I think it's Huff's running ability, not the throwing the football. I think his ability to run. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry as a quarterback. He's third in the league. Stewart leads the league, I think, at 6.4, and he's at 6.2 yards per carry for a quarterback. And that's pretty good, quite honestly, because
Yeah.
sacks are figured into that as well. So that would be my vote, would be what he's been able to do running the football. It's like having a second running back there who can throw it, is what it is.
What about the guys on the outside? It seems like they have a really good wide receiver in Cam Vaughn.
Right.
But it seems like Huff doesn't really have a favorite to go to.
Well, he spreads it around, but I think he's looked for Cam more recently. Vaughn was a guy, true freshman quarterback in high school. I saw him play some in high school. Terrific athlete. His senior season, quite honestly, he was the only offense they had. He was basically our offense. He was trying to throw it, and then he was running for his life most of the time. He redshirted last year, but he did play the last 4 games of the season. We actually had a package for him in the bowl game. Took some deep shots with him. And he is, he's grown throughout this season with that playing time that he's gotten. And he is the one legitimate guy I think that we have that can stretch the field. And that's been a difference. 49-yard TD reception last play of the game against Louisiana Tech, his longest, but we will take some shots down the field with him. And I think that's opened it up for Petway to some degree and the other guys on the outside. And Sean Brown throw a touchdown pass to the tight end is like he was a forgotten guy. He had very good numbers last year. But FIU just forgot about him on that particular play and big play that put us in front at that point in time. But he's a guy that can catch the football. But I go back to Vaughn, and he started, I guess, the last 3-4 weeks. But his ability on the outside, I think, has opened some things up for the other guys and has given us something we really didn't have last year, or you can go back to before we made the move to FBS last couple of years in FCS football. We didn't have that guy can stretch the field like he can.
Mike, you kind of talked about the defense there just a little bit earlier, not being of where they want to be, but showing progress. Where do you see this unit, and kind of break it down in the front and in the backside? Where do you kind of break it down? And what have you seen the best improvement, and what's kind of been the Achilles heel of this team's?
Well, we're not real big up front on the defensive line, and we're quite honestly we're young up there. We'll start more than likely in the game Saturday a true freshman and a redshirt freshman on the defensive line of scrimmage. So we'll run a 3-man front most of the time. Sometimes we'll jump in a 4 or walk those guys up on the outside, maybe in a 5-man front look. But Jawan Campbell, true freshman, Talon Carter's a redshirt freshman, and both those guys have started the last couple of weeks. And neither one of them have great size. That's the one thing I think that hurts us, especially with people trying to run the football at us, is the lack of size. Our linebackers didn't have a whole lot of experience. Lelete Hale was the only guy that had any experience coming in. Reginald Hughes transfers from Ole Miss. He has been very good. Kywan McCray on the outside has played pretty good too. Our secondary, the guys back there, Fred Perry sat out the first 2 games, and he's averaging over 9 tackles a game since he got into the lineup. Antonio Carter's a guy that, let's see, started at Rhode Island with his career there. Then he went to Notre Dame a couple of years there, then playing his final year in a Jacksonville State uniform. Perry and Carter, and then Zechariah Poizer's been a ball hawk, as has Jameer Latimer, a cornerback. So that's been a key. I think our secondary's gotten better, and all these guys. We only had really J. Rock Swain, who's been a standout as usual. He and Curly Young and Fred Perry, really the only three guys that had any experience on defense for us coming into the season. And I think it's just learning to play together, learning each other has been a part of it. Now we still give up some yards, sort of a bend but don't break mentality. Um, but we have been much better, I think, since about week 3 of the season.
Mike Parris joining us here on Samuelson Sports Talk. Mike, I kind of want to ask you, since you've been around this athletics program for a long time. Just talk about the impact that Rich Rod has had on not just right now, but on the football program as a whole.
He demands excellence. He perfection, quite honestly, I guess. Hates to lose. He may be the worst loser I've ever been around in my entire life in any sport, and that's saying something. He is a different guy after or at a loss. I'll put it that way. Shortly after the game, not a whole lot of fun to talk to. That might be the best way to describe it. But the what he does, they practice just like they play. It's at a fast pace all the time. He wants to snap it really in 20 seconds or less. We were, I think, last year the fastest offense in the country. Not quite there this year, and part of that's new quarterbacks and learning the system and whatnot as well. Um, I just think his attention to detail, especially with quarterbacks, he coaches them and he's tough on them. But that attention to detail for them, and that carries over to the other parts of the program as well. He doesn't. I don't think he spends a whole lot of time defense. He knows what's going on over there, but they know what he's looking for and what he's demanding from them. And I think that's just the biggest thing: the expectations, expecting excellence, and demanding excellence from the guys, and holding them accountable to it.
Mike, these four teams up top, Jax State, Sam, Western Kentucky, and Liberty, everyone's playing each other these next 2 weeks.
Right.
Where do you see, this conference championship going? Where do you see, who do you think ends up in the conference championship and where? Because I mean, there's a bunch of different outcomes. There's like 8 outcomes in 2 weeks.
Well, I'm a little slanted or biased here. I hope it's in Jacksonville, Alabama on December the 6th or whenever the championship game is. If somehow we slide by Sam Houston and Liberty beats Western Kentucky, that takes all of it out of play right there. So puts us in the championship game and hosting it, regular season champs as well. I think Western will give Liberty a tough time Saturday at Liberty. I think that will happen, and then we got to turn around and go to Bowling Green to take on take on Western Kentucky the last game of the season. You keep an eye on that one. T.J. Finley transfers in, the starting quarterback gets hurt, and now he can't get back in the lineup coming back from the injury because Van Velt has played so well for them. So. I think it's still wide open. And again, you look at the other leagues around the country, the Power Fours. I don't think anybody's got any bigger games, if 2 as big a games as these are this week and next week in Conference USA.
With how college football has like been changing, just kind of and there's this like talk right now with the new CFP rankings coming out. It seems like the group of 5 representative, and that could be Boise State, could but get that first round bye, and that is like something that everyone thought wasn't gonna happen because they all thought a lot of people thought that 12 seed goes to the group of 5 spot and no one else. But with how Boise State's been playing, just kind of I was just kind of curious with this new format, what does this mean for not just Conference USA but group of 5 as a whole?
Well, I have a feeling the Power Fours will find a way to, if it happens this year with Boise, they'll find a way to take care of that probably in the future. It gives you hope. It's going to come down. Strength of schedule. Boise, the one thing they got going for them, they played played Oregon in the opening game of the season, and lost on last second field goal early in. I don't know if it was opening game, but early in the season. Maybe I should have put it that way. But that's the one thing, the card that they can throw down on the table, maybe that another group of five cannot, with the fact that they played Oregon, the number one team in the country, and it took them to the wire. And I think that's the big thing as far as that goes with them. I'm not so sure every year you can count on a group of five getting an opportunity like that and getting a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And they're already talking about it, possibly expanding it after 1 year, from 12 teams on up. So see what happens with that. I just, this is my personal opinion. I think we are real close to the Power Fours doing something on their own. I think and then the rest of us will figure it out from there. But I think the Power Fours are going to dictate the things here in the more so maybe than they are now in the not too distant future.
Yeah, personally, I think what it would take to have a Conference USA team in there is exactly what Oregon is doing. You have to have a top five player in the country. You have to beat the tar out of everyone in your conference and have a really good loss like that.
Oh man,
That's it. That's you couldn't lose against a UCF or an Eastern Michigan. That's out. Unless you're Notre Dame, you can lose to whoever. But I
right.
mean, really, you have to be perfect.
Well, look at BYU. They're a Power Four, in a Power Four league. Look how far they dropped with the one loss last week as far as those rankings go. And Boise would be out of there like, rock falling from the sky or something if they were to end up losing between now and the end of the regular season or get beaten their conference championship game. So yeah, for a group of five program to get there, you're going to have to be almost perfect and have probably some kind of a huge win or a close loss in there to a ranked Power Four that's highly thought of.
Well, Mike, to wrap things up, what is your keys for the Gamecocks to beat Sam Houston and put themselves in a position to where they can not just be in the Conference USA championship game, but as you say, what you hope happens, they host it. I mean, of course there's a thing or two that is not in their control, and that's what goes on with Western Kentucky at Liberty this weekend. But you know, sometimes, but I kind of asked this question to head coach Casey Keeler's just got to find a way to shell that out. Just what do they have to do on your side to take care of business in Jacksonville?
Uh, I, in preparation for this, I didn't know this. Sam Houston leads the league time of possession. Rich Rod, from a Jacksonville State offensive side of things, he doesn't worry about time of possession, but I think it's big in this one because if Sam Houston can keep the football away and pick up some first downs, that limits obviously Jacksonville State's opportunity. So I think time of possession, getting off the field for the Jacksonville State defense, third down, got to get off the field. At times, they've had problems with that this year with opponents converting against them. And I think Sam Houston offensively is right around 40% third down conversions. I think that's a big thing. And you hear coaches say it, but stay away from turnovers. Had a couple of miscues last week that hurt. I think got to stay away from that. And one item to watch Jacksonville State, the big thing for Rich Rod, as I said, time of possession is not a thing, but first downs, the number of first downs that Jacksonville State gets. His goal is 25 per game. He feels like they get 25 first downs per game, they're moving the football and getting some points out of drives, hopefully with that. So I think Trey Stewart's got to have another big game. I think Huff's going to have to make some plays as well. And it's going to be tough. Probably going to have to be patient against the defense of Sam Houston. Second in total defense, second in the rush defense in the league coming in. And I think you just got to be patient and just take the plays that are there, and then make some plays during the course of the game, some explosive plays to help out.
Well, that was Mike Parrish joining us here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. Mike, thank you for talking with us, and good luck to you all this Saturday.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Come see us.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I don't have the money, unfortunately.
I understand, believe me.
Thank you to Mike Parris for joining us on Sam Houston Sports Talk. Luke, it is now time for our final segment. This is gonna be fun because when it comes to keys and predictions, the predictions part is kind of gonna be a little fun for me because I don't know. We get the win result right, except for Western Kentucky and UCF this year, but the scores is like I'm probably gonna be a little too conservative on it this go around. We'll see what happens, but Luke, big matchup this Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time on CBS Sports Network. So it's going to be in front of national TV audience. We forgot to mention that part, honestly. And with the amount of publicity it's getting, it's shaping to be a matchup that is going to have eyes on it. But Luke, what are your keys to for the Bearcats rather to take down a really good Jacksonville State team that's kind of trying to figure out its own defense right now?
Yeah, I think exactly what kind of Mike talked about. It's for us offensively, they're young and they're a little bit smaller and not as deep in front as they'd hope to be. So you'd really, like this is kind of like the main matchup that you won on offense. This is the team that you have to be able to run the ball on um, to really be able to do anything. On the back end, they're pretty good, and they have some experience back there. And throwing the ball has not been our best thing that we do. We're gonna have to find a way to at least not be one dimensional and throw the ball a bit. I mean, if we can get 220 yards and know be efficient with it and not throw any picks or anything, I think we'll win this game. That being said, if Watson can't throw it, whoever is that quarterback, whoever can't throw the ball very well, can't do much there, you're kind of a sitting duck. So offensively, you have to be able to at least stretch the ball down the field a little bit, and defensively, it's going to be about stacking the box and making your corners go one-on-one against Jax State, and really committing men inside the box. We're gonna have to stop both the dynamic runners back there and Stewart and Tyler. We're gonna have to stop them. So um, those are the two keys really. And special teams, by the way, we're gonna have another great day punting from Cardell, and let's be good with the kicking game. No kicks out of bounds. You are annoying me right now, calling with all these yawns,
I'm
dude.
sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm so tired.
We gotta find a way to get some energy drinks in you.
I don't have any right now.
That's your issue. That's your issue. The, the,
Probably.
the, we can't kick the ball out of bounds, Colin. If we kick the ball out of bounds and give up, a bunch of yards already just to start for Jack State, we're gonna lose this game. So I'm looking at the special teams having to be. It's probably have its best game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot. I agree. I mean, when it comes to running the ball, I would like to. I would probably like to see a bit more diversity in the run game, like trying some different things, not always trying to go up the middle, like stretching it out a couple times. Some good speed options. Um, I still think that they still gotta get it out to the wide receivers at some points during a drive. Not like you said, not be too one dimensional. So I'm not really gonna add on to it. I really agree with most of what you said, but uh, also just kind of just play your game. Don't pay attention to what's going on across the country, up north in this case. I mean, because it's so secret that I'm sure that they know deep down, like, hey, they could host a Conference USA championship game in Huntsville, Texas.
Yeah, and it's also no secret that if Jack State wins this game, they are clinched. I think they're in, no matter what, into the conference championship. Not necessarily hosting, but I think that's how it works out. So it's a must-win versus must-win, really. I mean, if you look at it that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be contentious. It's going to be tough. These two teams, yeah, there's a lot of history between these two programs and the FCS moving up together. I mean, they're together. They're married
Gravy Bowl
or
is what they're saying.
divorced, if you want to put it that way.
I mean, together but separate.
Separated.
Separated. But yeah. But here comes the fun part, Luke. To end it off, scores. Must say. Must say 20. I'm gonna say something like 2017 Bearcats win, I guess.
I didn't get what you said there. 2017, what?
Bearcats win.
Bearcats win. Colin, I don't know. Some of these scores this past week I was pretty close with the 26 to 13 or whatever I said. It was 23-17. I was kind of close there. But the burners have been on me, Colin. I've been getting DMs saying you have no confidence in our offense, and they're always saying if they're going to score in the 30s. Colin, we haven't scored in the 30s in quite some time. I'm not rolling with the burners either. Again, I think Jax State wins this one, Colin.
Okay, Luke has finally caved in.
I I just don't have any I don't have any confidence in our offense. Now, if we go out there and run for 300 yards, I'll eat crow. But
Live on air.
I just on air, on air. I just don't think we have it. I'm gonna say 13-27, Jack State.
Okay,
Late.
that's respectable. That's respectable.
I just not that I don't have. I think our offense probably turns the ball over a couple times, and pins our defense back where they're kind of held for ransom there and can't do anything. Um, that being said, ideally, I hope we win, but I just don't see it.
Gotcha. Well, that'll end this pod rather, of Sam Houston Sports Talk. Sam Houston takes on Jax State, 11 a.m. Central Time on CBS Sports Network. It's gonna be a good game. I hope it's at least a good game. I don't know. Just the main matchup is gonna be that offense, the Jack State offense versus the Sam Houston defense. But there's just gonna be a lot of things that is gonna go on that that both teams are gonna find out an answer to. For Sam Houston, is that can the offense get back to the ways that it was earlier in the year, and for Jack State, does the defense finally get to the point where they want to be? So to not rather, I would say, to win the Conference USA championship and take one step closer to becoming a pretty damn good Group of Five school, not just now, but like in the future, because Jack State's really got a good future lying ahead of them with the coaching and with the players that they have currently right now. So it's gonna be interesting. But Luke, as always, man, it's always fun to be with you on this Sam Houston Sports Talk. We'll talk to y'all next time. I'm calling Neil. So long for now, and as always, eat 'em up, cats.
Eat 'em up, cats.